U.S. Secretary of State in Beijing. Shanghai reports another local bird flu case, its 21st. And two-time Chinese Grand Prix winner Lewis Hamilton will start tomorrow's race in pole position. Good evening and welcome to this weekend edition of Shanghai Live. I'm your host, Zhang Jieying. China's President Xi Jinping talked about bilateral ties and issues of common concern with visiting U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry today. And Foreign Minister Wang Yi also had talks with Kerry, who is on his first visit to China since taking office in February. Kerry is the second U.S. cabinet member Xi has met since becoming president in March. He also talked with U.S. Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew in Beijing last month. Xi said these meetings reflect the great importance both China and the United States have placed on bilateral ties. Earlier in the meeting with his Chinese counterpart, Kerry reportedly expressed interest in creating a roadmap to facilitate the development of bilateral ties. Analysts say Kerry's trip is focusing largely on the current tension of the Korean Peninsula. China is the second stop on Kerry's four-day East Asia tour, which began in South Korea. He will fly to Japan tomorrow. Shanghai is reporting its 21st H7N9 flu case today. A 56-year-old man surnamed Gu, whose wife died of the virus earlier this month. But national and local health experts say there is no evidence that he got it directly from her. Song Wenjing has more.
The director of the Shanghai Center for Disease Control and Prevention told reporters this afternoon that both Gu and his wife had been exposed to live poultry. She said some of their neighbors raised chickens, and Gu's wife used to go to wet markets almost every day. Experts say the fact that Gu showed symptoms 5 days after his wife means the virus was within the same latency period. Doctors say the H7N9 flu can remain latent for around 7 days, and that's why they say there is no evidence to prove human-to-human transmission.
Only when viruses reach a certain level in the human body and are beyond the immune system's capability do they become contagious. Normally, they don't affect people during the latent period.
Shanghai has now reported a total of 21 people with H7N9 flu. 7 of them have died. Song Wenjing, Shanghai Live.
Meanwhile, in Beijing, a 7-year-old girl who is the first confirmed case of the latest bird flu virus in the capital is reported in stable condition today. Until her diagnosis, all of the previously reported cases have been in eastern China. Xu Fangliang has more.
Authorities say the girl's parents are involved in the live poultry trade in a Beijing suburb. She went to a Beijing hospital on Thursday with flu symptoms including fever, coughing, and headache, and was admitted as a pneumonia patient. Early this morning, doctors confirmed she has the H7N9 virus. She's being treated with a combination of Tamiflu and traditional Chinese medicine, and doctors say her body temperature has fallen from more than 40 degrees to the current 37.
We began to use antivirus drugs for the girl within 15 hours after she was infected. Her temperature started returning to normal this morning, and she also started to eat a little bit of food now.
We've also checked the 2 people, that is, her parents, who had been in close contact with her, and they show no flu symptoms.
Although only this one case of bird flu has been reported in the capital, Beijing health authorities say they've prepared enough Tamiflu for 2 million people. Officials say so far they won't order a large-scale poultry slaughter, but they have ordered greater surveillance of wild birds in the capital, as well as of people at risk of infection, such as poultry farmers, transportation crews, and vendors. Xu Fangliang, Shanghai Live.
An early morning fire in the downtown Xuhui district apartment has killed 4 people, including a 5-year-old child. Chen Tingjie has more.
Residents say the fire first broke out in apartment 305 of this building on Tianling Road at around 4:20 a.m. The building has sprinklers, but they weren't enough to put the fire out on their own. Firefighters brought the blaze under control within 45 minutes, but not before it had damaged all of the apartments on the floor. The 26-year-old man who had just moved into apartment 305 yesterday was burned to death. Residents say he had returned to the apartment around 3 a.m. A couple in their late 70s living next door to him managed to escape.
We learned that the old man was very calm. We used to have fire drills, and the old couple kept an emergency rope with them. The old woman tied the rope to her body and managed to climb down to the 2nd floor. Then the firefighters arrived and rescued the 2.
But the family living across from 305 was not as lucky. The 30-year-old couple and their 5-year-old son died in hospital. Doctors say smoke inhalation may have killed them. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Chen Tingjie, Shanghai Live.
Police have released video of a convenience store robbery earlier this month in southwestern Shanghai, along with a 22-year-old suspect's explanation of why he did it. Xu Fangliang reports.
It happened around 9:30 p.m. the night of April 2nd. Workers at this Minhang District convenience store say the robber walked in suddenly.
I was scared then. The robber was pointing a broken bottle at my colleague.
I was starving at the time, so I broke a beer bottle. I hesitated for a moment before I went into the store and told the staff to take the money out.
The robber didn't get much, only 145 yuan in cash. After police got the report, they spotted a suspicious-looking man near a fast food store and arrested him at around 11 p.m.
We found the man was wearing a pair of red sneakers that is identical to the robbery suspect.
Police are still holding the 22-year-old man surnamed Zhao and say he will face criminal charges. Xu Fangliang, Shanghai Live.
A local taxi company is adding cushions to the touchscreens on the back of the front seats. The move follows several reports of passengers hitting the screen and being hurt, or in one case, killed. Mark Leff has more.
The screen in this Jiangsheng taxi now has a 2-centimeter cushion around it. The driver says it was installed yesterday. Potential passengers have mixed reactions.
It's softer and can absorb the force. Even if the passenger bumps into it, they won't get hit too hard.
I don't know whether the company has done any testing. For example, you could have bumping tests to see what the result would be.
Local traffic authorities say the cushion is just an individual action by one company and is not required for all taxis. But they are reportedly working on developing safety standards that could be released in about a week. Last October, a taxi passenger died when the cab rear-ended another and the man's head hit the screen. And several other injuries were reported after that. Mark Leff, Shanghai Live.
Starting positions for tomorrow's Formula One Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai are all set. The qualifying wrapped up today with 3 former world champions leading the grid. Zhang Qing has more.
The qualifying began at 2 p.m., the hottest hour of a very hot day. The temperature on the track was 40 degrees, so all the cars began their time trials using soft tires. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg of Mercedes were the fastest in the first round. Both circled the track in under 1 minute 36 seconds. Nobody beat their times in later rounds. In the second qualifying lap, known as Q2, 3-time world champion Sebastian Vettel finished in an uncompetitive 1 minute 36.2 seconds. And his teammate Mark Webber ran out of fuel and didn't even make it to Q3.
Michael Simon, I don't think we'll make it in.
Webber is out of the race. Ferrari's Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa didn't do well either. Both were slower than 1 minute 36 seconds. In the third and final qualifying session, Vettel chose to use medium tires and had to abort lap. He'll start in the 9th position tomorrow. Hamilton, who has won the race here twice, finished in 1 minute 34.484 seconds to grab the pole position. Lotus driver Kimi Räikkönen will start in 2nd place, and Alonso will be number 3 on grid. The Chinese Grand Prix will start at 2 p.m. tomorrow. 张景，上海来。
It's a local tradition for people to visit the downtown Longhua Temple in the middle of the 3rd month of the Chinese lunar calendar to take part in the temple fair and see the peace blossoms. And Song Wenjing reports the more than 400-year-old tradition continues this year.
The temple fair actually started yesterday, but more people took advantage of the weekend to pay a visit today. An outdoor Shanghai opera performance was attractive enough to make people forget the blazing noonday sun.
I come here every year. Why should I miss it now that I live nearby? It's a tradition.
Organizers say this year's temple fair features a 10-meter-long painting of the prosperous Longhua town where the temple is located. The 70-year-old artist Chen Xingguo used to live there. He says he spent 3 years exploring the town and talking to his former neighbors before starting to paint.
These scenes are the face of Longhua when I was young. Now they don't exist anymore. I painted them because I don't want the old culture to disappear. I want to save them.
Longhua Temple Fair is one of the biggest folk events in all of eastern China. It runs through tomorrow.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Shanghai Live. I am Zhang Jieying. Good night and have a nice weekend.